Well, Melanie, thank you so much for joining me so early here in the morning on the Saturday of conference when I can only imagine how exhausted you must be. For those of us who don't know you yet, who is Melanie Weber?
So I'm born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas. I knew very early on that I was fascinated with earth sciences and atmospheric sciences specifically. I wanted to be a meteorologist, actually, for the longest time. And having been raised in Corpus Christi, so used to, hurricanes, tropical storms coming through. So very fascinated with weather, always watching the Weather Channel. But around eighth grade or so, we actually had a field trip. We went to Johnson Space Center and, a little bit on the background, like, I think I may want to be an aerospace engineer. I remember coming home, being fascinated with everything that I saw at Johnson Space Center about the story of human spaceflight. And I told my mom, I think I want to be an aerospace engineer. So I started reading up a little bit more about what that meant. And later that summer, a movie called Apollo 13 came out. And I came out of that movie and I was like, I know what I want to do in my life. I want to work human spaceflight. I want to build a spacecraft that's safe for astronauts. And so at that moment, everything revolved around me getting into a great college that had a great aerospace engineering program. And I accomplished that. I went to the University of Texas at Austin. I became an aerospace engineer. There were many hard days. A lot of people ask me, I'm struggling. I was like, I struggled too. I struggled a lot. And if I remember there was one day that I called my mom and I was like, I don't think I can do this. Why did I ever think that I could get an engineering degree, go to this major college? Like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And of course, she was extremely supportive. She said, absolutely, whatever you want to do, we'll support you. And I went to sleep. I cried for a while, went to sleep. I woke up and I was like, okay, another day. Let me get through this. Let me get through the semester. I'll get through the semester and then I'll figure out what I want to do next. And then I finished the semester and I was like, well, I did that and I'm halfway done. Might as well keep going. And I did. I just, I kept going. I kept fighting. And thankfully I earned my degree and I went to Lockheed Martin Aeronautics in Fort Worth. I worked on the F-22 Raptor.
Wow.
I was a design engineer on the F-22 Raptor for about 4 years or so. But that call for human spaceflight was still there. I still needed to do that in my life. And the shuttle was starting to get close to retirement. And I was like, I need to take this time and do this because I don't think this is ever going to go away. So I joined Boeing, moved to Houston, and I worked on the International Space Station. Didn't get to work on the space shuttle directly, but I did get to work on the International Space Station on orbit assembly and installation. So by default, I had to know what was flying in the space shuttle to know how we were assembling things on orbit for the space station. And then doing that a few years, there was an opportunity to work on this new spacecraft that was being developed. I was like, wow, I actually may get to fulfill my childhood dream. And it ended up being called the CST-100 Starliner. I ended up working on that for 11 years. I designed a lot of the interior of the spacecraft. I was the lead for crew and cargo accommodations, so anything crew-related, anything cargo-related, I was responsible for that. And then I had the opportunity to become a lead at the launch pad. And I was responsible for final integration at the launch pad. That included, last-minute configurations or cargo, and also prepping the spacecraft to put the astronauts in. So I was leading that team, and I was actually the first woman and the first Hispanic to do that job. No woman, no Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And it was also very interesting because historically, it was always a technician, not an engineer. So not only was I the first woman, first Hispanic, this was like new also for just an engineer to go out there and kind of learn these traits and skills that a technician would. So that was pretty amazing. Yeah. And of course, through all of this, I've been, very active with SHIP. I became a SHIP Lifetime member in 2007, and I've been very proud to support SHIP. Now I'm on the National Board of Directors, and it's wonderful. I love that I can give back to an organization that helped me grow, because there's no way I would have started my job if it hadn't been for SHIP, for my resume getting to where it needed to go.
I just want everyone listening to, obviously, anyone who's listening to your introduction at this point, we all realize how cool you are now. So, and I was not briefed on how cool you were before you got in this room. I found out literally about 3 minutes ago. We casually sit down, for anyone watching the video here, we have a GoPro right here, and Melanie looks at me. She goes, "Oh, yeah, I worked on integrating that camera into our space shuttle,
Or spacecraft, yeah.
spacecraft," and I was just like, "Oh, this is gonna be a different kind of interview," and so it's just amazing. And I love that you're sitting here and you talk about, when you introduce yourself, it's everything from F-22 Raptors to the International Space Station. But what you end with is SHPE. And we're here with SHPE. And I love hearing how SHPE was able to be such an impact on getting you to all these places. When did you first discover SHPE?
Actually, in 1999, when I
Wow.
was at the University of Texas at Austin. And of course, back then there was no social media, right? You learned from flyers being posted or just word of mouth. And so people, started talking, hey, we have the SHPE meeting with SHPE. And, I started casually going to some and then quickly found that, I was feeling very homesick. I was struggling also just being away from my family. I had just lost my brother the year before. And so I was dealing with the grief of losing my brother, being away from my family, being hours away. And it was hard. I was in a new environment. I didn't realize how hard it would be to be by myself and to deal with these very challenging classes too. And so I started connecting with other Hispanics that were in engineering, started making friends because, in my classes, there weren't many. I was doing aerospace. There was probably only a handful of us that were Hispanic, and I think there was only one other Latina. So I was struggling, and I needed that support system, and I looked forward to going to meetings, general meetings, and then I started becoming more involved, learning more, and then some of these people towards the end of college were my closest friends at that time,
So immediately, what SHPE gives you is that community, that familia. And you talked about being so isolated before that, having very few interactions with other Hispanics in your programs. And I've heard so many stories of imposter syndrome starting to set in. And then what does that community do for you? The second you walk into that room, it starts to dissolve all that, I imagine.
A little bit, but you still
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
have that a bit.
Of course.
It's so funny that you mentioned about imposter syndrome because I actually did a presentation at RLDC 7
Wonderful.
about imposter syndrome because it was really getting into me about that time. And it was that, wow, am I really capable of doing everything I'm doing? I'm working on a spacecraft, I'm my childhood dreams. I'm in these lead positions. Sometimes I'm the only woman in the room when I'm speaking technical details. And people were looking up to me to make decisions. I had gotten to a point where they were trusting me. And it was kind of like a pinch me moment, like, why? And there were just many days where the doubt was creeping in. But it was great to have a support system saying, you're doing amazing. No, you've got this. And, keep going. Well, why are you doubting yourself? And I think I even said that in, well, I don't mean to drop this, but
No, please
my
drop.
award acceptance speech
Yes.
when I got the Dr. Ellen Ochoa Award, and I said, my teammates and my familia were supporting me on the days that I doubted myself. And it was, this support system that made me believe that I could actually do what I was doing, because there were many days that I thought that I couldn't do it.
Well, since you dropped it, I'm going to pick it up for a minute. The Dr. Ellen Ochoa Award, one of the Star Awards, one of the most prestigious Star Awards, from my understanding. Dr. Ellen Ochoa, I want you to make sure I say this correctly. She was the first Hispanic woman in space.
Yes.
And so what was that like, receiving an award with her name on it?
It wasn't just that. It was also, God, I hope I don't get emotional, correct? It was also receiving a SHPE award. I had been going to conventions for so long and seeing these people on stage, receiving these awards. And I was like, wow, that would be pretty amazing if I got one time in my lifetime.
I've been to the Star Wars Gala. It's an incredible event.
is.
There was one just last night.
It was last night.
And I can only imagine what it's like to walk up on that stage.
It's pretty breathtaking at that moment. It is another pinch me moment. Like, wow, I've always been to conventions and never did I think that I could be at that stage, right? Maybe it's that imposter syndrome. You're like, you see these elevated people doing amazing things, and you're never quite sure you're going to be one of those people. You hope you will be, but you never know. And so receiving that award, it was receiving award based on my technical accomplishments, but the fact that it came from SHPE was all that more important for me. It was everything, really. And then you're speaking last night. Well, last night, here I am on the stage, not as a recipient, but giving an award.
Yeah.
And I did that last year too. And to now be on a stage during the national meeting and, kind of being that person that I aspired to, wondering if I would ever be part of SHPE in that capacity on this stage during this amazing awards, ceremony, or in front of all of these students for a national meeting. It's incredible. It's an incredible feeling. And there's so many days where I'm like, how did I end up here? Like, how did I just become this person that was just a SHPE member to being on the stage doing this? It's an incredible feeling.
I'm starting to get worried. You're pinching yourself way too often.
I'm really sorry.
No, it's a beautiful story though, and I'm so happy to hear about those parts of the journey. I do want to hear a little bit. Walk me through some of the journey from the walking into the room with SHPE and starting to feel some of that imposter syndrome start to dissolve. Obviously, it hasn't gone all the way away at all, and there's moments, fluctuations of it all. But from first finding out about SHPE and realizing you have this community, this familia, to the point of joining the board of directors, what was that journey like?
Well, I mean, that was a 23-year journey, or maybe 22. But I'm kind of a person that believes everything happens for a reason. And things will transpire in the way that they're supposed to and in the time that they're supposed to. So I wasn't a person that was like, oh, yes, I'm going to be on the board of directors and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I think I allowed it to happen organically. What was important for me was always to just be involved in the organization, to support the mission, to help students, high school students, college students believe in themselves, try to dissolve their imposter syndrome, to make sure that they have what they need to be successful to get STEM degrees. And that's what was most important for me. As I was going through my career, I started thinking, someday I'm going to retire. I need to retire. Who's going to replace me? I need people with me that I'm going to also elevate. I kind of thought of it like as a ladder, like I'm climbing this ladder, I'm going as fast as I can. But at some point I'm going to be like, yeah, I think it's time for me to retire. I think it's time for me to enjoy that part of my life and transition there. But who is on the ladder with me? It doesn't, you can't go through life like that just by yourself. You need to have people around you, but you need the people around you so that you can bring them above you. So I guess I think about it as I exit this ladder, like I kind of go off to the side. I reach down to the person below me and I'm going to throw them above me. And I'm going to get them as high on that ladder as I can. So then they have an opportunity to keep going higher and higher. And I hope they do the same to somebody else. Or a group of people. And that's the way that I see it. At some point, my ladder, like I think of Dr. Eleanor Choa. She got to a point in the ladder. Now she is helping, or women like her are helping women like me and tossing us up higher in the ladder. And now I have to do the same. So it's kind of something that I thought of. I need that pipeline. I know we say pipeline a lot, but it is true. You need that pipeline of people who are going to take after you and continue making breakthroughs in their career, in technology advancements, et cetera, community, all of it. So maybe we have some amazing world leaders that are downstairs in the career fair. And I think about that too. Not just people who are going to be inventing these technology advancements, but maybe we have a president down there. And I think about things like that.
And it's one of the things I loved about being so fortunate to do so many interviews with so many great just SHPE leaders this past few days. I've heard so many different versions of that exact same story and that exact same value. The idea that we're not doing this work so you can be as successful as I am. I'm doing this work so that you can be more successful than I am. And I've heard that from so many people. I've heard that from people who have been in SHPE for over 30 years. I've heard that from people who have been in SHPE for 20 years. I've heard that from people who have been in SHPE for 10 years or 5 years or less. And it really shows me how how well SHPE has integrated that into the familia here.
Yeah.
And it's so authentically important and valuable to the whole community here.
Yeah.
And I think it really speaks to the success of the impact that SHPE is able to have. And we're sitting here, preparing to celebrate the 50th anniversary of SHPE, 50 years of serving Hispanics in STEM. And you have been involved now for over 20 years. In the period of time that you have been able to dedicate to SHPE, how have you seen it grow?
Well, the number of members just
Oh my
from
gosh.
that. Yeah, I think this is great timing having the Star Awards last night. I remember when I was a student and, Diana Gomez was our president, and I'm looking at her on stage going, wow, that's so amazing. But also at that time, we could have everybody that attended the conference at the dinner in the same room. And now we're just so big, we can't have that.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's bittersweet. I miss those days. But at the same time, but look at what we've accomplished. Look at how much we've grown. Look at all these programs that we do now. Look at how many communities we can now serve because we have so many members, have so many volunteers. We have a support staff, a true 100%, hired support staff to do all of the things that some of the volunteers, we have volunteers, we have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And so we were struggling, to do some of this work on top of our full-time jobs, and now having this support staff do all of this work as their job is amazing. That's how we're growing so quickly too. And I've been able to see that just in the numbers of staff that we have, how much we have grown just in the last, I would say, 5 years. Like, it's been like almost a boom. And let's talk about the world changing on top of that, and COVID, and us being affected by, everybody being affected by COVID, yet SHPE is still strong. We were able to adapt. We were so used to being in person all the time, having conventions in person, leadership conferences in person, and now we had to enter a world where we could not be together. And we adapted. We figured it out. And we were still able to serve our members. And now we're even stronger. Yeah. And I think that's what's just so impressive about all of us. Like,
Absolutely.
I have to pat all of us on the back and be like, we did this. Like, we did not allow something like a pandemic to get in our way,
right,
or other political unrest to get in our way. Like, we still said, this is important. We need to keep doing this. Let's figure it out.
I mean, here you are just a couple of years removed from your virtual conference during the pandemic. And we have, I've been corrected on this number so many times, over 12,500.
Oh, we got a little bit
students.
higher.
I've heard the exact number. It's somewhere in that range, but I know it's more than 12,500 is the number that I'm being quoted several times now. And so just a couple of years removed from having the virtual, you have the biggest conference you've ever had. And I haven't heard anyone have any doubt about the fact that next year will be even bigger. So it speaks to that exponential growth, this trajectory that you guys have all set yourselves on. And so as we kind of remember the past 50 years of SHPE's impact, what is it about the next 50 years that really excites you?
It's so funny you mentioned that. Okay, so first off, I'm actually board champion for the 50th.
Let's go.
And for the convention. So
that's the right person. I've been asking everybody this over the past few days. I've been waiting for you.
I'm so ready. Like, I need to stop and enjoy like today and the rest of our conference.
Oh.
But I'm already just so excited about next year. And I keep talking about it and everything that we're going to do. And we're going to have an amazing convention. And, a lot of people are like, well, should we be spending money? And I was like, yes, we have to celebrate us. At the end of the day, it's not like we're going to do this every year. I'm sorry, everybody. We can't, do this like really big thing
she says
every
that now.
year. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I want to make sure that everybody realizes that this is really something special. Not every organization makes it to 50 years. Not everybody, is part of an organization that's been around for 50 years, something.
Yeah.
And we need to embrace that. We need to embrace everything that the organization has done, what we're currently doing. And it is a time to reflect on what we can do What does the next 50 years? I was with the convention committee and I dropped, wow, I hope I'm still around when we hit 100 years. I might be in my wheelchair asking, what'd you say? But I hope that I am still around for the 100th. You know, one of the other things I thought about, because I think way too much.
Me too.
I'm so
love
sorry.
it.
I think way too much. I thought about how 100 years from now, what about, or sorry, 50 years for the, 100th celebration. What if there are students here walking these halls right now that have grandchildren that are part of SHPE in 50 years? And then I started thinking, wait, do we already have that connection? So I'm really interested to see if we can find,
Who just got goosebumps?
if we can find, somebody who was in SHPE early on and maybe their grandchild is now in SHPE right now. I know we have some parent, children relationships. I don't know if we have a grandparent relationship. So
I don't know.
If anybody knows, please let me know.
Yeah, we went on the podcast here. We did a father-son interview this week. It was fantastic. And I love seeing that. We've heard countless stories of SHPE members finding love at conferences.
Yeah.
So I believe that this is possible.
Yes.
This will be for the 100th. That'll be our main thing that we're promoting is the grandchildren relationship.
That would be amazing.
I love it.
Or by that time, maybe great-grandchildren, right?
Oh, yeah, for
Think about
sure.
people now, maybe they're great-grandchildren, but yeah,
We'll start planning now.
Yeah, we know.
That
We
one will
start
be
planning.
big. That one will be big.
Well,
Everyone
we stop
get ready.
planning. Yeah, I just get so excited, and I can't help myself. It's just like I think about all of these really random things because my head kind of goes off all the time. I can't shut it off. I apologize.
Well, one of the things I love about SHPE is me myself, I'm a very forward thinker. It's really easy for me to do the same thing. Like, ooh, at 100 years, we should do this. Ooh, at the 50 year, we should do this. We're still at 49 we're great. We're having a great time. But I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, next year will be great. I saw the banner you guys have out there promoting next year. I was like, oh, I got to make sure I'm invited to that. So I get it. I get the excitement around it. But the other thing I love about being around the SHPE members is you have this excitement. You have this passion and flair and fun that comes with all the different Hispanic communities that they all bring to the organization and to the Familia. But you also all bring your engineering minds, so that fills in the gaps. You know where you're going, but you all make sure that you get there. And I think it's really a testament to how SHPE has been so successful. You have these beautiful minds of these Hispanic STEM students and professionals who all have learned, because I do believe it's a learned skill, learn to dream big. And that's what you guys are teaching. And I think it's making a huge impact. And while they're also just using the mechanical engineering brains that they have to ensure that it happens. They're not just waiting for it. No one's waiting for anything to happen. You're all taking the initiative and making it happen. And I think it's really fun to see, and it's so contagious being here at convention, feeling the energy here. And I think, the more time I spend with wonderful members like yourself who have been here for so much of your life, so much of SHPE's life, it doesn't surprise me anymore that this is what's happened and this is where we're going with SHPE, because you guys have such incredible, passionate people leading the organization. Talk to me about some of the people that were inspirational to you in SHPE as you were coming up. Before you were the, Melanie Weber, the board member.
Well, I dropped her name again, so I'll drop it again.
Yes,
Diana Gomez.
absolutely.
I would see her on stage, and I was like, wow. I would love to maybe be her one day, type thing. And I joke, I call her La Reina, like the queen. And sorry, I'm kind of still a little out of it this morning.
No, you're
Still
great.
trying to wake up a little bit, but I would see people like her. Somebody else who I worked really closely with at El Amero chapter was Michael Gutierrez, and he was a regional vice president, and I was with him at that time, learning about what it meant to be a regional vice president, and he was also part of the board. So he was somebody that I kind of closely worked with and aspired to be as well. So there have been amazing leaders, and every year I find more people. I'm like, wow, I'm sorry I hadn't met you yet. You're pretty amazing. And I love that we have so many of these amazing role models that, not just me, because I still look up to these people. I'm getting to be one of these old people, and I'm like, oh, wow, these
No
are
one
people
said
that
old, by the way.
I feel old. I definitely feel old today, but I'm not bouncing back as quickly as I used to.
Oh.
That's for sure. But now I have students coming up to me saying that they're looking up to me and that I'm an inspiration. And it's very moving because that's what I said to other people. Now there's people that are saying it to me too. And it's just, it can be a little overwhelming some days, like where even I get teary eyed, like, oh my God. Like, I think about if I have just touched one life, like just one person that said, you know, I continued with aerospace because of you, or I'm doing what I'm doing because of you, or because you gave me this chance, or you gave me this talk, I'm now here. And if I made a difference in just one person's life like that, I would be like, yep, I fulfilled like my goal in life type of thing. And I think that's what I look forward to one day.
Well, in 20 years, when I'm still producing Ship's podcast, I would not doubt that I'll be interviewing someone who just made it onto the board or whatever it is. And I ask them a similar question and they say, oh, I just remember when Melanie Weber went up on that stage. It's just such an inspiration. And I think you totally are deserving of all of that adoration. And I think it's been so fun to talk about the ship history over the past 50 years and the time you've been able to spend there.
Yeah.
And I know you and me could spend so much time talking about the future and our ideas of what could happen and the fun little things we'll do at the 100th convention. But I want to center us both back. We both have a long day ahead of us. We've talked past and future. Let's just have a moment in the present.
Yes.
Give me one story from this year's convention that you just can't help but share with everyone.
I love where students can feel like they can just approach me and stop me and you know, say, hey, I saw you at RLTC 7, or I saw you at convention last year, I saw you here. And I love that I can reconnect with some of these students that I've talked to previously. But I also love what social media has done too, in that I have students that are messaging me on LinkedIn saying, hey, I am going to be at convention. I'm an aerospace engineer. I want to go do this. Talk to me about Blue Origin. I work at Blue Origin now. And so, you know, kind of indirectly, I'm not on the floor, you know, recruiting directly, but, you know, I'm working with them, understanding the needs of the company, but I'm also still able to go on the side and give these opportunities to some of these students. And actually, right after this, I think I'm meeting with 3 students back to back that have been dying to, you know, talk to me this week before we depart. So I think that's what's fabulous. And you know, okay, I'll have to say one other brief story.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was RVP 7 during COVID. And so I did not have the chance to meet my fellow RVPs in person, the other 6 in person. Now, slowly I've been meeting them over time. And Vincent, who is RVP 1, I met in person for the first time last night.
Oh my gosh.
Because he just hadn't been to convention yet. He decided to come to this one. And we just never had that opportunity. And we didn't get that opportunity during COVID. And we've been all close. Like, we all still talk to each other pretty regularly, almost daily. We still have a group chat where the 7 of us are able to still talk daily. And we've been so close, even though we became close from afar. Having opportunities like convention to bring us all together, to have fun together, it's everything. Like, I'm so happy that we're together. So there were 2 of us missing this convention, but 5 of the 7 we were all together last night. And yeah, I'm just so happy that happened.
That's so wonderful. I love watching the joy and emotion that comes over all your guys' faces when you talk about the connections you've made and
seeing
the
people.
importance of your familia. So talk to me a little bit about what you're doing now. You're serving on the board, and then what are you doing in your professional career?
Yeah, so I currently work for Blue Origin. And here's another funny story. You ready?
Yeah, I'm
another
so ready.
Ship connection.
Always ready.
This time last year, and I've been reflecting on it all week, I had an offer in hand from Blue Origin. And I was still serving as my capacity on the National Board of Directors. I was still engaged in everything that was happening, but of course, in the back of my head, I was struggling, making a decision. I was with Boeing for 14 years. I love Boeing very much. I loved what I did. But now this new opportunity was in front of me, and it was scary. I had to make I would say it was the toughest professional decision I've ever had to make. whether to continue with what I was doing or find another opportunity within Boeing, or do I kind of told people, maybe cut the umbilical a little bit, maybe go off and do this scary thing
Yeah.
and do something new. And I thought about it, I was like, this is something I preach to other people. Like, I need to take my own advice, a little bit. But when you believe, I was at the Ship Tina's luncheon last year, and the speaker, as she was getting off the stage, said, know when it's time to go. Listen to the signs of when it is time to leave what you're doing and go pursue another opportunity. And the tears just started rolling down my face.
Oh, yeah.
And my husband was with me at convention last year, and he looked at me and he's like, if that doesn't tell you, I don't know what does. And I looked at him and I said, I know what I have to do. And I'm getting emotional now because it was a very hard decision, because here I was with my Boeing familia as well. And to think that, wow, this is going to be like the last time that I will, officially be a part of Boeing.
Right.
But, they still, I've been with them all week, and they're like, you're
course.
still part of the Boeing family, and they're so sweet. And I feel that way too. That company's always been such a big part of my life. But this was an opportunity that was just, I couldn't say no to. And at that moment, it's almost like I needed permission. And for whatever reason, in that moment, with that speaker up there saying it, I felt like I had the permission. It was so weird. But I'm that person. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I was meant to be in that room. That speaker was meant to be there, and she was meant to say that to me so that I could, take this new opportunity. And it was actually a NASA flight director that had asked me to join Blue. And you can't really, I looked up to him always. And I always hoped that one day I would get to work with him. And so when this opportunity came, he called me. He's like, I really could use somebody like you here at Blue. I'm doing this thing. We're going to try to design a new space station. I really want you on our team. It was like, wow, yeah. Like, why? How could I say no to an invitation like that and an opportunity like that? And everything just kind of fell into place. And it was the Friday of convention. Right after that, within a couple of hours, I signed the offer. And so I've been reflecting on that all week, that even though this was something outside professional, wasn't directly SHIP that helped me to have that. I was at a SHIP convention when this huge professional decision I had to make happened. So it's just, I think about things like that all the time. And SHIP was still a part of my life that day, and guided me that day.
Yes.
SHIP guided me that day.
Gave you the clarity.
It gave me the clarity and kind of, like I said, the permission that I needed to move on to another opportunity, to be brave. Because to do something like that, you were so comfortable for so long. It is a little brave, you have to admit. Yeah, it's brave to jump into the unknown. And I did it.
And what kind of things are you able to work on now with Blue Origin?
Yeah, so I am a flight operations engineer. So I kind of was able to, I'd been a design engineer for so long. So this had been another a field that I've always wanted to go to. And I got a little bit of that being part of the Launchpad team lead, kind of that day-to-day operations, not just the design of it, but basically operating the spacecraft or the launch vehicle, whatever that is, in what capacity. So now I'm supporting Orbital Reef, which is a space station that's currently being designed. And I will be, I'm hoping, God willing, I hope this all works, be part of that team in working in mission control, essentially, and helping to start up mission control for Orbital Reef. And I'm hoping one day, so I had my childhood dream, and my childhood dream was fulfilled.
Yeah.
I got to build a spacecraft that was safe for astronauts, and that vehicle will fly next year with astronauts. Now my adult dream, I think, is to be a flight director. So that's what I think I'm going to start kind of pursuing, working towards. And, I have the connection now. It's just believing in myself that I can do it, and starting to go through those steps and maybe pursuing that as my adult dream. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like, I did my childhood dream, and what's next? And I think that was also what was happening last year is my childhood dream has been fulfilled. What's next? And I think I asked somebody that because there was another presentation, another workshop, can you believe, another SHIP workshop, where a woman was up there, I think she's from Leidos, and she's like, I worked my dream, and I left my dream, and I went up to her afterwards, and I was like, how did you leave your dream? And she said, just because you're leaving your dream job doesn't mean there isn't another dream job for you. And that was extremely
Wow.
impactful. And I was like, wow, yeah, why do you have just one dream? You can have multiple dreams. So that also happened that day, that Friday. She told me that in the morning, and then I went to that Ship Tina's lunch. And where they said, where it gave me the clarity I needed to leave. So can you believe those two things, those two women saying those things helped me.
I don't want to diminish it by saying, yes, I can't believe that.
Yes.
But only because it's SHPE, right?
Sure.
And I think that's a really great message for all of us to hear is that, why can't you have more than one dream? It's not like a soulmate that you're having this job with. Why can't you have more than one dream? So at the 100th anniversary, we'll check in and see what your dream was after that and see where you are then. Speaking, if we allow ourselves
At the 50th? At the 50th anniversary?
No,
The 100th?
50th, 100th. No, 50th, we know where you're going. We're gonna keep checking in. We'll maybe stop at 75 or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
But if we allow ourselves just another moment of forward thinking here, what are some things in your industry, in your job now, working with Blue Origin, that make you really excited about the future of technology and how it's going to impact everything?
There are some things that the company is pursuing right now that I probably would have said, no, there's no way we could do that. Are we crazy? Like, seriously? We're going to try something like that? But at the same time, I think, yeah, why not? We can do anything. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time, possibly. And some new technologies may need to be developed to get to where you want. But yeah, why not? We can do anything. We've put men on the moon already, and we're going to do it again.
Yes.
I think that's amazing. We're Artemis is going, and we're going to get people back to the moon, first woman, the first person of color back to the moon. And I know I've met those people, by the way. I'm so excited about, seeing their careers continue.
Another
as
childhood
well.
dream.
Yeah, to see, this happen, a woman and a person of color going, that's extremely inspiring. Because my previous job, I had to know what, the Apollo astronauts went through. So I've met quite a few Apollo astronauts. I'm actually really sad. Ken Mattingly just passed away this week, and I saw that and I was like, yeah, another Apollo astronaut. These are men that I always admired and looked up to, and I always wondered when we would get back to the moon. And I always hoped that I would be part of that story too. And so actually Blue, that's one of the other major things Blue's doing right now.
Yeah.
Helping to get us back to the moon, building a lunar lander, and they're doing amazing, technologies right now. Yeah, I can't wait to see what else is going on, because I know there's things I'm not privy to, of course. But just knowing what I know, it's really pushing the edge of some things. And like I said, I didn't think that we could be capable of doing it, but the people at Blue are doing it right now, and I'm impressed and inspired by them daily as well.
That's amazing. And you are also amazing, Melanie. Thank you so much for spending the time to share your story with us. Before you lose your voice again for the fourth day in a row.
It's starting to go, yes.
And I'm so grateful to have spent the time with you to be a part of sharing your story with even more SHPE members. I know that you're going to be an inspiration for all of them, and I hope that even more people come rushing up to meet you next year at the 50th.
Yeah,
so
look
that
forward to it.
we can just continue to, just spread SHPE all over the country here. So thank you so much for spending the time with us and for serving SHPE as you have over the past several years. So thank you again.
Thank you, Alex.